Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje has now been signed and agreed to for the interim lightweight world championship as the headliner of UFC 249 on April the 18th. And I'll be honest with you guys, mixed emotions. I'm happy. We've got a main event. We've got a card. I've got something to talk about. Everyone's got something to watch on April the 18th that we didn't have before and we weren't sure about watching before. Now we have it set in stone. Gaethje versus Ferguson will be happening. Ferguson, the hero of the people's fucking champion, steps up once more, takes on another short notice opponent that he doesn't have to take on right now. And all of a sudden, Ferguson versus Gaethje. Very interesting. Yeah, just mixed emotions. Happy? Sad. I didn't want this fight. I really didn't. I thought, listen, if it was McGregor versus Ferguson on short notice, it would be amazing. McGregor can't take short notice fights. He's got to do a massive world tour, press conferences all across the fucking globe. There's a lot that goes into a McGregor bout that means that he can't take fights on short notice. Either way, Gaethje has been able to step in. And, it's just weird to me because this is lose-lose. I guess the UFC gets their main event, which is a very good thing. But if Gaethje wins, we're in trouble. We're in big trouble. Then do you do what? McGregor versus Ferguson? Ferguson's coming off a loss now. McGregor will not get any respect if he does win against Ferguson because people will say, Ferguson's past his prime now, so that fight doesn't make any sense. Gaethje will get the title fight versus Khabib, which is what Ali Abdelaziz has wanted. Two of his guys fighting for the same belt. He gets all the money involved in the situation, which is also something that I want to talk about later on in the video. However, Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. I don't know how to process this, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm happy, but I'm just not at the same time, because I know what it should have been. Khabib versus Ferguson. That's why I'm annoyed. I like Justin Gaethje. It's just right now, just no Justin Gaethje, but he's here. And he's taken the fight on short notice, and credit to him, a lot of guys would not take on a man like Tony Ferguson on short notice, especially with the cardio that he already has. Now you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage. That's crazy talk. Gaethje takes the fight on short notice. I'm assuming he thinks his chances are to win in the first round by KO, which could happen. I'm not willing to predict that it will happen. My prediction lies with Tony Ferguson right now, because he's been in camp for a very long time. Gaethje's taken on short notice. Gaethje, I gave McGregor the edge on short notice, but Gaethje, I mean, fair enough, he's got some early KOs recently, but against James Vick, Edson Barboza, after he poked Edson Barboza in the eye, and then he KO'd him on the same side that the eye poked him on, and then he KO'd Donald Cerrone. There's just a lot of noises to make about Gaethje's performances. He's won, and he's KO'd all of them. Does that mean that I'm willing to predict that Gaethje will KO Tony Ferguson in the first round? No, it doesn't. It doesn't make me think that, because Gaethje's going to have trouble with a weight cut. He's going to have a lot more to think about than getting ready for a fight. He's getting ready to cut weight right now. That's the situation Gaethje's in. He's a big lightweight as well. A real big lightweight. Like, he towers tall. He's almost as tall as Donald Cerrone, but he's a little bit thicker for the weight division. Powerful guy. He's focused on making it to the event more than tuning up his skills to fight Tony Ferguson. However, something I have to take into consideration here. Gaethje said he's been... Gaethje, and here's where the conspiracy theories come into things, and don't dislike straight away, because I promise you I have a point here. So Khabib's out of the event, and so's every other Dagestani. Toughest people in the world. Anyway, Khabib and every other Dagestani's out of the event. They're the only people that couldn't make it to the event. Everyone else on the card is badass enough to get on the fucking card, even though they don't know where it is. They're down because they're fighters. Khabib and his team, Team Khabib, they're off. Just Team Khabib doesn't want to do this. Very cool. You don't want to risk your great records, your streaks. You don't want to take the chances that everyone else on the card is willing to take. Fair enough. Take the day off. We'll send in the real fighters. Justin Gaethje will do the job. However, I have seen something from Justin Gaethje that says that he and 4 of his training partners were doing sparring rounds secretly in the gym that's closed to the public under a gathering of 10. You don't do that unless you know you have a fight coming up. And you know, you could well say that Gaethje knew that there might be an opportunity on this card. You could say that. And Gaethje was just getting his team together, organising private training sessions and sparring sessions with guys under 10 in his camp, just because he had a hunch that one of these guys wasn't going to show up. He's also managed by the same guy who manages Khabib. And that whole Khabib pullout situation is just a very strange one indeed. A very strange one. First, it was because of the coronavirus. Secondly, it was because this is unprofessional from the UFC. Thirdly, it was because of, you haven't sent me the location. That's why. Not the last two reasons I gave. The only reason is I don't know the location. Nothing about quarantine or the coronavirus around the world that I originally came up with as an excuse. Nothing to do with not being professional enough and anything like that. Now it's because he doesn't know the location. Otherwise, he would have been perfectly okay to fight. And Khabib pulls out, and Gaethje goes in there. And if Gaethje wins, first of all, if Gaethje even puts up a fight, you've got a more battered version of Tony Ferguson. He's not on the up in his career right now. I mean, he's 36 years of age. If anything, it's only going to get worse and worse from here on out. Gaethje loses, you get a little bit of more of a beat-up Tony Ferguson. A little bit older of a Tony Ferguson as well. And if Gaethje wins, you get Gaethje versus Khabib, both managed by the same person who's going to make a shit ton of money out of them. You know? It's just a bit stinky to me. Ali Abdelaziz is such a fucking rat face. I just can't see his face and not think that something's going on. When he says stuff, I just think to myself, right, well, you've murdered someone. Seconds before taking this interview with ESPN, you've murdered someone. Something's going on. You're hiding something from us. Don't trust him, guys. I don't trust him. Either way, Ferguson versus Gaethje, I think Ferguson's going to beat him. Gaethje on short notice. Listen, Gaethje on a full camp, I'd probably pick over Ferguson. I think Gaethje could catch Ferguson in the first 2 rounds on a full camp. I know that doesn't sound like a lot because a lot of people assume that camps mean cardio, which is not the only thing that a camp brings. A camp brings your timing, your accuracy, how sharp you are you dead on point where everything you throw is landing, it's adding that extra bit of oomph to every single punch. I don't think Gaethje's going to be able to produce that on short notice, especially that he's going to need a lot of good timing to land on Tony Ferguson. Ferguson knows the threats that Gaethje brings to the table. It wouldn't even surprise me if Ferguson went out there and tried to wrestle with Gaethje. I swear. Ferguson's been training wrestling his whole camp. Wouldn't surprise me if Ferguson's feeling a little bit confident about his wrestling and goes out there and tries to wrestle with Gaethje. And if that happens, I don't know what's going to go on. But what I do know is it's going to give Gaethje less of a chance in the first 2 rounds to land that KO blow, and then the short training camp is going to come into consideration, which will mean way less cardio. Listen, Gaethje's a guy who shouldn't be taking fights on short notice. His recent style of getting these KOs in the early rounds, they're good. It's a good style to have, but, you know, Gaethje, he is the breaker of guys. You know, that's what he does. He goes out there, he outlasts you, he wears on you. That's his game plan, and it has been for so long. Taking away that opportunity at success with a short notice camp, it just gives me one more reason not to pick Gaethje. Like, I picked McGregor to win on short notice against Ferguson, but McGregor loses those later rounds no matter what. You know, like past 2, even on a full camp, McGregor's in trouble, so that doesn't count to me as me eliminating another option for McGregor because he's on short notice. McGregor's only chances to win were in the first 2 rounds by KO. Short training camp, long training camp doesn't really change that too much for me. It does with Gaethje because he's not the same striker as McGregor is. That's just a fact. I'd pick McGregor to KO Gaethje in the first round, by the way. I'll add that prediction out there just to anger another niche portion of fans that might be watching this one. They will also dislike this video. I think Ferguson's going to beat Gaethje. I think he's going to go out there and wrestle him for the first 2 rounds. Not even joking you. I think that's what he's going to do. Go out there, wrestle for 2 rounds. Short notice Gaethje's going to be a little bit more tired. Ferguson's going to beat the shit out of him in the 3rd or 4th round and get the finish. If Poirier can do it, Ferguson can. If Alvarez can do it, Ferguson can. That's my prediction. And I know a lot of people are going to say this to me. He's a new Gaethje. He's not like that anymore. Is he? Is he a new Gaethje? Because I felt this with Masvidal as well. He's a new Masvidal. Is he fighting lesser opponents? Is that what's going on? And my voice can get a little bit higher than that as well. But, you know, is that what's going on? I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I can't bring our voice. There you go. It's back to normal. We're good. Okay, Jesus, I didn't get carried away there. Is he better? Or are Poirier and Alvarez better than Barboza, James Vick, and Donald Cerrone? Is that the situation that we're looking at? The same with Masvidal. Is Damian Maia and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson Is it Masvidal being way better? Or did he lose to those guys and beat Pettis, or not beat Pettis, and beat Nate Diaz and Ben Askren and obviously Darren Till as well, because they're a little bit of a step down? I don't know. Darren Till not so much, but Ben Askren and Nate Diaz, yeah, a little bit of a step down from Maia and Wonderboy, I'll be honest with you guys. It's tough. Tough to pick Gaethje here. He can catch Ferguson in the first round. There's a big threat of that happening, and that does terrify me. However, I'm willing to predict that Ferguson will win. And in the off chance that Gaethje does win, the whole concept of the UFC lightweight division is ruined. You know, we don't get Khabib versus Ferguson. We don't get McGregor versus Khabib anytime soon. So that's not a great outcome either. But, you know, Khabib doesn't want to risk a fight that isn't completely under his control. Everyone else on the card does. I feel as though this should be blamed on Khabib. And I'll tell you this again. I've seen the headlines again here. Here we go. Let me find it for you real quick. Here we go. Tony Ferguson, 18. Khabib Nurmagomedov pulled out, they were saying. They were basically saying that Khabib Nurmagomedov is out of the fight because of the coronavirus concerns. But that doesn't make any sense. And they were talking about it because of the travel bans in Russia. But we've already clarified with many sources of that Russian reporter, I can't quite remember his name, someone will put it in the comment section below, I'm sure, that he was allowed to travel out of Russia for the next 2 days. He didn't take that opportunity to do so. Khabib seems like he doesn't... I'm going to say this. Khabib seems like he didn't care about the fight at all. He seemed like, and if this isn't 100% under Khabib's control, he's not going to take the fight. That's what it seems like to me anyway. Everyone else can make it to the card other than Team Khabib. What's the connector? It's Team Khabib. There's no other connector. It's not like Khabib's team are more vulnerable to the coronavirus. Russia has less cases than everyone else. Like, it just worries me. Every Dagestani off the card. And maybe Ankliev's on the card, I'm not sure. But other than that, they're shifted off. It's madness. I don't know how this has happened, but Khabib Nurmagomedov doesn't want to risk his belt in a situation that is not favourable for him. Tony Ferguson does. So he shows up and he'll get himself the interim title shot. It's just... I'm just mixed. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to react. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Ferguson might win. And if he does, good. But then we got to wait again for him versus Khabib. And then we got another 5 months for one of them to get injured. People forget about Khabib. People forget about Khabib. He's been fighting recently. And honestly, 99% of you Khabib fans jumped on when he got the fucking belt. Don't you dare lie to me. 99% of Khabib fans jumped on when he beat Michael Johnson. 100%. And they don't realise that before that, and before the Barboza fight, and his long streak of beating guys back to back to back, Khabib pulled out quite a bit. You know? He did. He pulled out quite a bit. And it's very unlikely that he will be able to go through another training camp and not get injured. And the same thing for Tony Ferguson. What if he beats Justin Gaethje, but Gaethje clips him again? And Ferguson gets rocked. What if he beats Justin Gaethje, but Gaethje chews up his leg? And his leg's fucked a little bit, and they got wait another 6 months. What if Gaethje just lands a few punches and just cuts the eye just enough for a 6-month medical suspension? It's just... I wouldn't risk it with Gaethje as the winner. You'd risk this with McGregor to hopefully come through and win. That's what you do, but it feels like Gaethje here is just like, just fuck off. I like Gaethje, but it's just like, not right now. But I'm happy that we've got an event. So I don't know how to react, as I said. It's just a bit, it's just a bit fucked. Best of a bad situation, I guess. Cool, we got an event. I guess I'll start doing some predictions, but Ferguson's going to win by 3rd or 4th round TKO. Is my actual prediction. And it's just, I don't know. Cool. Very cool. I don't know. I don't fucking know what to do. It's just like, I'm not happy. I'm not sad. I'm just like, oh, well, there you go. Gaethje Ferguson, interim belt. It's a good fight. It's a good fight. I think Gaethje not having a full camp is going to play into things a little bit more. He might even be looking for the KO in the early rounds. which is going to be a little bit harder to find, especially against Ferguson. Once you get used to hitting him for so long, you start overthrowing with shots and he starts to wear on you. You start to burn yourself out looking for KOs in the early rounds because you fear the later rounds. It just doesn't add up for Gaethje, but if he does win, cool. The division's fucked, all hype gone. But hopefully Ferguson wins, and then guess what? We'll have even more hype for Khabib versus Ferguson. I guess. But Tony Ferguson, man, hopefully he's getting paid for this. Jesus Christ, that's something I need to mention here. If they aren't getting paid big bucks, fuck the UFC, honestly. Right now, Ferguson should at least be getting $500,000 to show. Am I wrong? This is bigger than Jones versus Gustafsson 2, when Jones came back and Gustafsson came back. Both of them earned $500,000 to show each for an interim belt. A vacant belt. This is an interim belt. If Ferguson is not paid $500,000, there needs to be answers. There really does, because there's something going on. There's no way they can't provide a lot of money for Ferguson for doing the favour that Ferguson has, and being the real... You know what, I'm going to say it. Ferguson's my fucking champion of the 155-pound division. That's what this entire situation has told me. And if Ferguson does beat Gaethje, who have a better resume than Khabib, I dare you to argue me that. If Ferguson beats Gaethje, he's got a better resume than Khabib. Facts. End of story. My fucking champion. The people's champion, Tony Ferguson. Like and subscribe. Click that button there. Goodbye.